Welcome to our community chat. I'm Diane Estes with the Lebanon School District, and I am the Director of School and Community Relations. And we're excited to be back here today to introduce you to a few new people into our district and to bring you up to date with what's been going on in our world at the Lebanon School District. In an effort to keep you informed, we really want to just bring in different folks from different parts of the school district itself and talk about different topics that are important to you, the viewers, and of course the Lebanon taxpayers. So this is a first in our series of Meet the SAU Central Office Administrative Team. And I hope you'll stay tuned because we'll have part 2 as well, where we can get a few more people in to introduce you to. My guest today, though, I'm very excited to introduce to you our interim superintendent, Dr. Joanne Roberts. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And Ms. Christine Downing, and I'm just going to read her title. It's a mouthful. She is the District Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment. Wow. Welcome, Christina. Thank you. Welcome to the show. And of course, Mr. Tim Ball. Hi, Tim.
Nice to be here.
Tim is the business administrator for the Lebanon School District. So we like to call him the money guy. Or I guess he calls himself that. Well, welcome to all of you to the program. And today really is just our goal is just to learn a little bit about each and every one of you and what you see going on in the school district. And we'll start just by asking each of you, I'm just going to ask each of you just to give me a little bit of your background and kind of what brought you here today. And why don't we start with you, Joanne?
Sure. So my background is in biology. Mm-hmm. So I actually started off working on Long Island for Stony Brook University in research. Oh, wow. And I did that for several years. And then I was hired to work for environmental health and safety. So I oversaw the campus as well as the hospital at the university, all things related to the environment, water, asbestos, all of that kind of information. And that's where I really learned to love policy, regulation, and all of that. But I missed being with students because I was a double major. Mm-hmm. So I went back and I began teaching 7th and 8th grade science and high school biology.
Great. And
my family was more so upstate New York, as was my husband's. So I have a son, Jack, and a son, Kevin. And we were taking the Port Jeff Ferry all the time off of Long Island. And so we ended up living in Hanover about 20 years ago. Oh. And I began teaching at the Ray School when my youngest son was in kindergarten. Oh, great. And then became assistant superintendent a few years after that. Mm-hmm. And then the last few years I focused on curriculum instruction and assessment. Okay. And just this last year I'm very excited to be the interim superintendent. So, you know, my passion for students has always been there, mm-hmm. but I also really enjoy policy and facilities and all of those pieces too.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Very interesting past. I bet you've dissected a few frogs in your time.
I have. I absolutely have.
Well, we can't wait to invite you to Storrs Hill in the spring when we go to the Watershed Congress.
Oh.
You'll definitely want to put that on your calendar.
Okay.
That's a great day that the students annually, the 4th graders, all from throughout the whole entire district, both sides of town, 4th grades, will go to Storrs Hill, mm-hmm. and the Fish and Game is there, and there's a lot of learning stations. Very exciting. Wow. So like one of my favorite events, and it's just a wonderful spring day, you know.
Mm-hmm. Gets a little muddy on occasion.
It gets a little muddy, and we always make sure that the kids wear their barn boots that day.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's great fun. So I'll tell you more about that.
Yeah.
So Christine, would you mind telling us a little bit about what you do? The title just rolled off Joanne's tongue, so and I bet it rolls off yours probably a little more cleanly, but tell us a little bit what you do in your curriculum, instruction, and assessment for the district.
Sure. Part of my role in the district, as you said, is curriculum instruction and assessment. And that is really a pre-kindergarten through grade 12 role. And so it looks at really what do we teach our students? How do we know that our students have obtained that level? What do our learning activities look like? How do we articulate to that our community so our community knows what our program of studies look like? So it takes on a variety of things. A few examples is overseeing our assessment systems. We do some nationally standardized testing, so it's overseeing that as well as state testing. It's overseeing our curriculum documents and that communication to the public, to the teachers, to the families. And it is just about visiting classrooms and providing professional learning, to always make learning on the cutting edge for our Lebanon schools and our students. So it's an all-encompassing role. It has a lot of hands and a lot of things.
Sure. Well, both of you, the similarities I see already is every day is different.
Yes.
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 Yes. Every day is different.
Yes.
It keeps it exciting, though, because
totally,
you never quite know where you're
yeah.
going to be at the end of the
Yeah.
day, or what you've done,
Yeah.
or who you had a chance to meet with,
Right.
which is really nice.
Right. That's great. Well, and if you remind me, I'd like to circle back to some of the national assessments.
Yeah. Sure.
And we can touch on that briefly. But Mr. Ball, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and
Sure.
what brings you to the Lebanon School District?
So I, coming out of college, joined the military as an ROTC scholarship. So I spent 5 years in the military and healthcare, doing operations. When my time came out of done there, I spent the next 13 years in private industry, doing again different levels of operations. Came back east, and then about a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I was looking for a change. There'd been some consolidation in the industry, and really wanted a chance to stay in the Upper Valley. There's a lot of nationalization, I guess, of energy industry, and it was really going to require me moving probably to stay there. So saw an ad in the paper for the business administrator job in Claremont and SAU 6, and took a chance on it. A lot of the, interestingly enough, a lot of the tasks sort of lined up, and got that job there. And then a few months ago, saw the Lebanon job come open when Jim Fenn retired. And Lebanon is, we live in the Upper Valley, and my kids we're really oriented this way as a family, so it was a really good fit for my personal life. So I'm glad to be here. And
Well, welcome to both of you. I know, Christine, you've been here for a year, almost a
Coming
year.
up on a year, end of this month.
Where did that year go, huh?
It flew by.
Yeah,
It flew by. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very interesting, and you said something that kind of got me thinking, and that was some of the industry items. I don't know how you put it, were very similar, of running a business and the operations of a business and the operations of a school district. So I do find it's just a different kind of business.
That's right. It's and that was sort of what I talked about in my interviews way back a couple years ago. Was I see a lot of similarities, and make no mistake, government, especially accounting, is a little different. But the idea that we're trying to deliver a product, in this case education, and we're trying to do it well,
Right.
And we're trying to do it as efficiently as possible,
And
is
fiscally
really what we're
responsible,
trying to do. So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So, Joanne, do you have any focus areas this year, or
Yeah.
that you'd like to tell us about?
Sure. I think the first thing I'm trying to do is get into the buildings and be able to meet with teachers and administrators and see the students and the parents. Even though I've lived in the Upper Valley for a long time, I'm finding that each school district runs things a little bit differently, and each school building has its own culture and traditions. So I'm trying to, with your assistance, and thank you, kind of figure out what those things are, and so I can fit in as naturally as I can, and then support where I see there's these little doors that are opening, or people will say to me, I've always wanted to do this, or why haven't we tried to do that? So one of the things I'm doing is listening a lot. Another thing that I'm doing is kind of, you could call it an audit. We just did a survey that talked about a whole range of services and supports that we provide. And that was for faculty and for paraprofessionals. We had over 115 responses to
wonderful.
that. And I'll have an opportunity to review that data Some of it was a Likert scale, so we'll say on a 1 to 5, hey, we're hitting around 3. That's pretty good. What would it take to get to a 4? I also am a systems person. I really enjoy kind of problem solving with people, and I like it when people say to me, I'm not quite sure why we've always done it this way. I thought maybe we could go this way with it or that way with it and problem solve. I think one of the nice things is we do have some people who've been here quite a while who can explain to me, well, this is why we do it this way. Here's the history. But we also have some new people coming in who've done it in different ways successfully in other schools, kind of bringing those in. So it's a bit of a melting pot for me this year of ideas. And I want to create a strategic plan. One of the things I've heard is we've had a lot of initiatives. And one of the things I've heard is, can we pick maybe 3 things to really focus on that people have the vision and they have the support to do it well? Can we put our grant funding toward that? And can we let the community know that these are the things that we really are trying to work on? So I'm trying to strategically plan with everybody what the next steps will be. And I just really enjoy that kind of work. So that's what I've been focusing on.
Excellent. Busy, too. a lot to it. And it must, because as you said, there are some new folks and then, of course, the past experiences of we've always done it this way or must be very interesting and a learning experience from both sides of the table.
An example would be the bonfire that we're having tonight. It's a combination of tradition, families and generations, and it's also a sense of doing things maybe a little differently as people are coming in. And I was there about 7:15 this morning, lifting the pallets, and it was a beautiful thing. You have the seniors helping, you have some parents who were there who had that tradition in their experience. Administrators, we all had our gloves on, lifting pallets. And so I think that's I'm looking forward to being there tonight. And going to the football games has been an amazing experience. So there's just a lot of wonderful things in Lebanon.
Lebanon certainly has a very active alumni group as well, and they do love their mascots, and they love their sports, which is all good. So Christine, what about you? What's your focus, your plans for the year? Or
a couple of my areas that I'm focusing on actually are a direct result of the generosity of the taxpayers of the Lebanon community. One of the things that was approved in last year's budget was the implementation of a new K-5 mathematics program called Envision. So we are focusing on that through a series of trainings, meetings with staff, visits to classrooms, just really building that professional collaboration around implementing a consistent program to support the mathematical growth of students in K-5. Another great product of the budget being approved was the implementation of an elementary math specialist position for Hanover Street School and Mount Lebanon Elementary School. So I'm working closely with that staff member to provide a variety of opportunities from co-teaching experiences in the classroom with teachers to supporting perhaps struggling math learners, or even supporting the other end, students who need enrichment in math that are able to go above and beyond. So we're really excited by that position and very thankful to the Lebanon community for their support in that. We also have some other initiatives going on in terms of teacher evaluation system. Some of that is driven by state directives. And so we are looking at our evaluation system for our staff and working jointly with all groups, administrators, teacher leaders, members of our associations. And so that's exciting work. And I guess one of the last big things that's a focus for this year, and it's really a focus for all New Hampshire schools, it's the new state assessment that will be taking place in the spring. It is called the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, SBAC as people will refer to it. It is an all online testing system, something that in the past is different because it was all paper pencil. And so, we're preparing for that. So there's actually a lot going on in the Lebanon School District. I like to say right now, I think we're in the midst of what I call the perfect storm, because we have a lot of systems that are coming up for their 5-year revision cycle, and this is a great time to align those systems. So it's not that they're competing with each other in terms of priorities, but they're supporting each other and supporting the ultimate goal, which is, student academic performance in support of our staff. So lots of things happening in the area of curriculum, instruction, and assessment.
And I think it's really great for the viewers to be able to hear that I'm a mom too, and you send your child off to school, and they're there from this time to this time, and they're doing reading, writing, and mathematics, of course. And but what it really takes to get that product, the behind the scenes, which is what you all really are doing, to produce the end product.
Yeah, there's
a better
there's
education.
a lot of prep work that goes into to some of these systems to have that end user ability.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Christina's done so well is there were committees. I now see them as really functioning committees, and the conversations are meaningful. It takes a lot of work on your end to guide those discussions, but I'm hearing from people that they look forward to getting onto the committees and what they're doing with their work and how it syncs together. And that's really what we want to support, is that kind of stakeholder input and excitement, because that's what's going to give anything the longevity and to keep things moving forward. So that's really, one of the things that, she does many things well, but that's one of the things that people have definitely said, we're excited about these committees moving us forward as a district.
Well, and it does seem like the professional development more vibrant.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not directly connected, but I hear it from the staff members as well, and I can see what's going on, and it does seem very exciting, and it's great.
My professional philosophy is that professional learning is the key. It's the heart and soul of any district. If we're going to ask staff to do whatever it is, we need to give them the ample time to learn about it, to practice it, to become masters of it.
Right.
And you need to have that. And professional learning permeates so much of what we do. From the evaluation system, sure, we can develop an evaluation system, but we need to allow people to grow and understand what that system means. A nice example of where we're moving towards in our evaluation system is something that's often referred to as peer-to-peer feedback. So we can actually have colleagues to colleagues going into each other's classrooms, looking at the good practices, having good conversations about sharing those practices. And that's what we need education to be about. We're all educating all the students. And so.
And Tim, what have you got going on in your world down there in the business office?
Down in the basement.
Down in the basement. We keep you down there for a reason.
So the easy answer is budget, but I'd like to come back to that one because it's easy to think the business manager just does budget stuff.
Sure.
But a lot of different areas sort of that I kind of oversee. And Dana's coming on, I think, in a little bit to talk about some of the facility stuff. But I'm excited about facilities, where Dana and I are working with the Finance and Facilities Committee to sort of strengthen and refine our capital improvements plan. We're working hard to develop a preventive maintenance schedule. We just bought a real inexpensive piece of software to sort of develop that, to make sure that we have all this equipment, we have HVAC units and all this rest of it that provide heat and cool, but make sure that they're properly maintained so we get a long life expectancy out of them. Is great. With transportation, we're always looking to refine that, looking to hopefully in the near future explore the world of alternative fuels with some of our transportation assets. And then budget, we're trying to go line by line and really refine how we're spending our money to make sure that the money that the taxpayers have so graciously supported education with, we need to make sure that we're doing the utmost we can to maximize that dollar, to make sure that we're spending it in the most efficient and effective way possible. So that's really what we're in the middle of now, is really dissecting those individual budgets school by school. So.
Right. And you'll be having, I was going to mention it later, but I'll mention it now, an all-day budget meeting
Yep.
coming up on Saturday, November the 22nd at the Lebanon Middle School. And if people wanted to come and see how the budget is actually put together, that's a great opportunity to hear what's going on and learn a little bit about what is being requested out of the schools, and that there's a great deal of thought that goes actually into this process. It's not just a number on a piece of paper, it's the justification of that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
There's 1,500 different areas that we need to fund in some way or another in a particular budget. So it would be a great learning opportunity if someone was interested.
Yeah, oh, that sounds great. For anyone, what opportunity, I did want to ask one other quick question though before we got to that. Are there any contract negotiations going on this year, or where are we in that process?
So there are two. There's the Lebanon Education Association, so the LEA teachers contract. There's also the Lebanon Support Staff negotiations. So there's actually two separate ones that we are working on with the board members and with those teachers and support staff this school year.
Okay, so will that be on that will be on the ballot in March?
That is our hope. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. If you can come to an agreement, it's
Yeah,
on the ballot
and
in
then
March.
We're going to do the best we can to
Yes,
do
of
that.
course, of course.
And the conversations
Great.
have been really fruitful so far.
Right.
And the feedback has been that everyone's been very respectful and asking clarification type questions. And so, I think that's really great. The feeling about it is positive.
Very good. Good. So for the viewers' sake, we'll definitely have you back, and probably Dr. Roberts and Tim, definitely have you back so that we can talk about the warrant when it gets a little
Okay.
closer to that period. So that, I always feel as a voter myself, when I step up to the booth, it's like, oh, yes, I should have studied this a little bit more.
what does this mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it would be helpful for the viewers and the taxpayers in Lebanon to know a little bit more about that when we get a little
idea.
further down the road. Great. Well, do you see some opportunities or anything else you really would like to share before we finish up today?
One of the things that really resonates with me is just the dedication and the making students first philosophy of the administrators, the teachers, the board. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity to be in that sense of student first, and we are a team. There's not a classroom I haven't walked into that I want to stay longer because there's so many exciting things going on. And even in the hallways, you feel a certain sense of warmth with the principals who, even if they're new, they know the students' names. It's just, I think the opportunity is simply that this is a wonderful place and with wonderful people. And I don't see doors closing. I see doors opening with ideas. And so, that's one of the things that I see as a real strength of the Lebanon School District.
That's awesome. I would agree with you. I love the variety in my position. And one part of that is that I do get to go into the schools like you, and I'm looking at it through maybe a totally different lens, but there's just, and the conversations that the children will have with you, and the learning that's going on, and the excitement. And what I also love to see is the learning between the students themselves, meaning peer-to-peer, and how I think it's a very positive place for our students. Either of you have any other things you'd like to add, or?
To add to the opportunity, I also think, we've gone through a fair amount of transition and change, but I think change is a good thing, and I think what I see in the administrators and the staff is we're always asking those questions to push us to that level of change where we are better. It's not, we're not just satisfied with the status quo. You know, a few years ago, the Lebanon community wholeheartedly supported the extended learning opportunities at the high school. That's been a remarkable program that right now
Really
is actually
amazing.
receiving state recognition. We're participating in
fantastic.
an
Yeah.
action research project.
great.
So I think, you know, although yes, we know there's been some transition, I think we embrace change and we look at it as an opportunity to just move forward and become better. That there's always something else out there looming that we can try, we can take a risk on to benefit our students, our community, and our parents. So.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that I think that Lebanon, I've come in new from another district and before that private industry, and I think that I would love for people to know that Lebanon is it's a pretty well-run organization. I know it's easy and in the midst of craziness of life to say, you know, why is that going on or that makes no sense. I mean, it's a pretty good-sized organization, and sometimes things are going to be a little clunky. But in general, it's a really well-run organization, and I'm excited to be here. I think that I see my role in the immediate, next few weeks, few months, is really auditing, seeing how we can improve, asking why. There's processes, how can we improve and what needs to change, what sort of process isn't in place it needs to be. But in general, I mean, it's Lebanon's a good place to work, a good place to be part of. It's sometimes, like I said, it's easy to sort of get frustrated sometimes, but that's, nothing's perfect, especially an organization of 500 people, but as organizations go, it's in pretty good shape, I think.
That's great. Well, I think that's a really good place to end today on. And I want to thank you all for being here today. And I know that it might not be the most comfortable thing to do, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to get to know you if they can't meet you one-on-one, which we encourage you to do. We also encourage the viewers to come to our school board meetings. They're twice a month, the second
And fourth Wednesdays.
second and fourth Wednesday, and they meet at
6:30.
the Lebanon Middle School at 6:30. You're always invited. The public is always invited and encouraged to come. And again, tell us what you're thinking. Tell us how you're feeling about things that are might be going on in the district. We will be also holding a number of community forums as we move forward with our superintendent search. And those dates are all listed on our school website, which is www.sau88.net, right on the homepage there. And at any time, you're certainly welcome to give me a call at the school district and maybe tell me a little bit more about what you'd like to see on our community chats. So for today, I say thank you for watching and stay tuned for part 2 of the introduction of the new central office team. Bye.